So over the last few weeks, I have been getting just blasted with questions and comments, all pertaining to me training at Planet Fitness. And this is a direct result of me posting like a 40-second clip of me essentially apologizing to Planet Fitness and its members, having spent the majority of my adult life talking shit about Planet Fitness and its members. And now I train there occasionally. So it was meant to be funny, but I think there's also a couple underlying themes, at least a couple, that very few, if anybody, latched onto. Actually, some did, because I noticed some comments were in these kind of areas. I think there's a message of humility, of maturity, growth, priorities, how that can determine an optimal or suitable operational environment, or the people that we need to be around or want to be around. So there's like a lot there that most wouldn't even come close to grasping. The overwhelming majority was confusion, defending Planet Fitness because they train there, or talking shit about Planet Fitness, similar to what I used to do, 10 years ago. That was really it. That's the majority. But to answer the questions, because it's like, do you really train there? I don't get it. Why would you train there? Okay. My entire life, I grew up an athlete. I played a bunch of sports in high school, even before high school, and then I played football in college. So I trained in athlete performance training centers, facilities. That's where I would train as an athlete. At no point through my entire young life, and young is, when I was like 12 and started, I was getting into lifting weights, there was like an aesthetic element to it. But once I got more into athletics, it was all about what I could do on the field or on the mat or on the court. Like, that's it. So bigger, faster, stronger, more endurance, almost no matter what. That's really kind of the mentality I had. And I would train at facilities that had the necessary equipment to make progress in those areas. Because at a certain point, you do need specific equipment to be able to continue making progress for a specific sport or a specific activity. That's how I trained. Good to go. Got into the Army, became a Green Beret, got to the teams. We trained at our training facility. We've got strength coaches and like all these assets. New environment, very similar desired end state, that is of human performance and capability. New equipment, but like the concept was still essentially the exact same. And that's where I would train, would be at our gym, in our unit's training facility. So to make progress in the areas in which I had prioritized for my fitness and health goals required me to train at certain facilities that had the resources necessary to make progress in those areas. Well, as I continued to live life on the teams, and after I lost my leg and went back, and like you guys have read my book and you've seen how I lived my life and the intensity and frequency and specificity in which I would train, I had to train that way in order to not only keep up with the young two-legged savages that I get to call teammates, but as a leader, I need to be beating them, at least in some things. I need to be like leading from the front, literally, at times. So for me to even have a shot at doing that, my physical training and my nutrition and my recovery and all the things that go with human performance had to be at another level, okay? And most that are watching this are familiar with that. Well, that comes with some costs, as do most things in life. There are costs associated with that lifestyle. And a couple years ago, after we had just wrapped up a deployment, it was on that trip, we were in Iraq, that I realized my body was like breaking down faster than I could practically keep up with. All the bands and the foam rolling and the modalities and the traction and the physical therapy and the injury prevention routines, like I'm doing all this stuff, but I was breaking down the machine faster than I could keep it together and calibrated. And I got back from that trip, and I met with my primary care doc. I met with my physical therapist. I met with my strength coach. I met with an orthopedic surgeon. I mean, I met with a lot of different medical professionals to get their opinion on what are we doing here. You know, people just drive like whatever. Here I am talking and driving at the same time, probably setting a bad example, but I am paying attention to what's going on around me. I met with all these docs and fitness and health professionals to get their assessment and feedback, and they all essentially said the exact same thing. They're like, dude, if you continue living this lifestyle the way you've been living it, you will almost certainly need both your hips replaced, your knee replaced, and you know, this is all theoretical, but you could very well be on a trajectory of living, you know, the last third of your life, God willing, wheelchair bound or like really mobility limited, just because of the amount of damage that I was causing to the system. That was essentially the catalyst for me to begin at least entertaining the idea of leaving the ODA, which was a really hard thing to do. But I ultimately decided to do that. And it wasn't for a lack of passion for the lifestyle. It was because I had to train a certain way to be able to function and operate on the ODA. That had to go away. Therefore, I could no longer stay on the team because I would have become a liability to that team. So I moved jobs. I moved into a company operations warrant position. And then because of that, afforded me the opportunity to change my training protocol, which I really hadn't done. You know, minor tweaks and adjustments here and there with the program and split and, you know, sets and reps. And like, so it would change over time, but the concept, like the overall priorities of the programming had been the same since I was a young person. Human performance, bigger, faster, stronger. What can you do with your body? So that trigger allowed me to change how I trained. And it was a whole new venture, whole new journey for me, where there were new priorities built into the program. Things like longevity, durability, aesthetics, so like how the body actually looks. And it was a new way for me to train. And it's, you know, awkward at times and weird, but also kind of exciting and fun to play around with kind of new exercises and set and rep schemes and training modalities and things like that. This has now been about 18 months or so since I made that switch. And I'm still learning it now. So because of the way I train now, at least some of the time, I no longer need the same equipment, the same resources that I absolutely did need prior. So if I'm doing some kind of more like bodybuilding style workout, which now hypertrophy, as in muscle size, is one of my training goals. Now that, like, it's done in different phases. So at different times I'm doing different things throughout the overall program. But if I'm doing stuff like that, then I don't need the equipment that I would need prior. So a place like Planet Fitness is definitely an option. I also began looking at options for training locations as I started to get out and do a lot of the things I do with my business. So I'm on the road quite a bit. So I wanted a consistent option or multiple consistent options while I was traveling, that if the hotel gym was shit, I had a place that I could likely get to. And because I'm in the Army and I have some accounts with USAA, associated with USAA, although I think this is exclusive to USAA, there's a program called Active and Fit, I think is what it's called, where basically you pay a one-time monthly membership, and at least at the time that I signed up, it gave you access to like 15 different gyms, like some like major commercial gyms, Gold's Gym, Anytime Fitness, Planet Fitness. There was a bunch that was in this like cohort of gyms that if you paid the one fee a month, which was cheap, it's like $22 a month, you can go to all these gyms. And Planet Fitness was one of them. So I'm like, oh, this is great. So when I'm on the road, I'm going to have multiple options. So I signed up for that. And then I began using it. Again, like during the training sessions and times in which I didn't need a barbell. I didn't need bumper plates. I didn't need a lot of weight because I was more focused on volume, or lighter weights and higher reps, and just these different training schemes that are incorporated in my program now. So Planet Fitness absolutely affords me the ability to get a legitimate, brutal training session in line with the intent of that training session at that time. I now will use Planet Fitness, my membership, even when I'm local. So like I'm home now. I'm in Tennessee right now. I actually just parked in my parking garage. I'm going to go into my office. I'll use it when I'm here. So it's not exclusive for when I'm on the road. I'll use it while I'm home. I also train at another gym local to this area called Operation Iron Gym. And it's owned by a guy named Chris Silk, who's an amazing dude, former Air Force guy. That Operation Iron is a hardcore training environment, okay? It's like a lot of power lifters, a lot of competitive bodybuilders. You know, there are a lot of operators that train in there. Like the extreme end of fitness enthusiasts, whether they're doing it as a profession or just as of a choice for a lifestyle, are training at Operation Iron. I mean, and they got all of the specific equipment to train in that way. All the powerlifting equipment, stuff that most people would, if you walked in, you're like, I have no idea what this thing is. It's because, yeah, you're like a whole different training facility. There are dudes in Operation Iron, like no shirts on, jammed out of their minds, ripping 800 pounds off of the floor for reps. I mean, there are some animals that train at Operation Iron, men and women. It's an intimidating environment to walk into. I absolutely love it, as do most of the members that go there. I'd say probably all of the members that go there love it. And it's not only these like crazy meathead like nut jobs. There are literally, I mean this literally and metaphorically, you know, 50-year-old soccer moms that train in there as well. And which just, every time I see some of them in there, it fills my heart with so much like pride and like happiness, because I'm like, this is an unusual environment for anyone to train in. And a lot of people will come in here and kind of take a tour and look around and be like, yeah, no, there's no way I'm coming in here. I will be far too uncomfortable to train in this environment. But those that get past that discomfort and that kind of fear, and they begin training there, regardless of your level of proficiency or your goals or how you train and what you do, they start to feed off of that same energy that the rest of us do. It's awesome to be around. Younger people, there's teenagers, men, women, older people that train in there. So Operation Iron does service a lot of different people with different goals and different lifestyles, but there are certainly some absolute savages that are training in there. I train there as well. It's actually right down the street from where I am right now. So a lot of times I'll leave work here at my office and I'll go straight to Operation Iron, get a workout, boom, head home. So it really just depends on what phase I'm in my training, what that workout requires of me, and then getting into the environment that facilitates those needs. That's it. Because of the way I train now, or it's not exclusively power, strength, explosiveness, Planet Fitness will give me all the things that I need to get a great workout. And it also gives me an option when I'm on the road, because their Planet Fitness is fucking all over the place. So yes, I train at Planet Fitness. Yes, I did spend the majority of my young adult life talking shit about people that train at Planet Fitness, which I've subsequently apologized for. Hence this video I'm doing here right now. Much longer version, of course. And that may answer some of the questions. You know, so again, for me, I think, and I'll say the underlying message of the first one, that comes with a bit of growth and maturity. You know, like 22-year-old Nick was a bit of a knucklehead in a lot of different ways. This is pre-Army. You know, I'm still in college. I was like a lot of 22-year-olds. Like, thought I knew it all, and eventually you realize that you don't know much. There's a lot to figure out. And so as you get older and you get wiser and you gain more knowledge and more experience and more perspective, and your goals in life start to change, and you get a little bit more confident and comfortable, I think, in your own skin, where I will walk into Planet Fitness and train and share that with the world, and people can talk shit about me, which they've done in the comments, in my DMs, like, dude, what the fuck? I thought you were this like badass and you're training at Planet Fitness. Like, I don't get it. Like, that's all fine. It doesn't affect me whatsoever. Maturity, priorities, and then as those priorities change over time, having the humility to put yourself into an optimal environment to reach those goals. And that's going to change over time. It's inevitable. It is going to change, either deliberately or not. One of the expressions that I love to use is change is inevitable, progress is optional. And a lot of times what prevents that second half of that statement coming to fruition is our own ego and our own pride. It's like, no, I mean, I spent 10 years in this one example talking shit about this gym. There's no way I'm gonna go back against what I had been saying and go into that environment. Even though it may be optimal, it may be cost effective, it may be convenient and efficient and effective. It could be all of those things, but we get in our own way. Our ego and our pride gets in our own way and prevents us to do that. So I think that may be another underlying, or now I'm making it more overt, message associated with kind of my growth and using Planet Fitness as an example. So Planet Fitness, got nothing but love for you guys. I appreciate everything you guys do. Operation Iron, which is on kind of the complete and total other end of the spectrum in terms of environment and intensity and equipment and kind of your typical client that goes there. Planet Fitness and Operation Iron are on two almost complete and total opposite ends of a spectrum. I train at both, and I get great training sessions at both of them. So it's what you make of it. I hope that hope that clears some things up. And I got to get to work, so I'll talk to you later.